about creating a central database as far as birth and death registration is concerned. Government proposes to bring a bill for amendment for the Registration of Birth and Death Act. The amendment will centralize the process of registration of birth and death. Currently, the states have this power. They have the power to issue birth certificates and death certificates, usually done by the local municipality. But a bill has been moved, a note has been moved to amend the bill before the cabinet. Sources tell CNN News 18 that the need for amendment was felt because states were not updating the database once a person died. This proposed centralized database will help other authorities as well, starting from Election Commission to update its electoral roll to UIDAI as far as the Aadhaar database is concerned. So that is the motive, that is the reasoning for bringing in this amendment to the bill. The Home Ministry is piloting this bill. A cabinet note has been prepared and placed, is likely to be placed before the cabinet next, and it could be moved in the upcoming session of Parliament as well. Will this meet with a lot of criticism again? We'll have to wait and see, because this is infringing once again on a domain that has been a state's purview so far. It is the state governments, the local municipalities which were dealing with matters of birth and death registration. The central government say that they were not doing it properly. Even after the death of a person, the records were not getting updated, and hence the need has been felt. Pallavi Ghosh is with me for more details on this. Pallavi, clearly after the row that we are seeing over Hindi, this could be the next flashpoint between Home Minister Amit Shah, who heads the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the opposition ruled states. All right, I've lost that line with Pallavi Ghosh, but just to give you a backgrounder, already you are seeing Home Minister Amit Shah getting attacked by various state governments after a panel on official language which he heads recommended that Hindi be given preference over English and vernacular languages be given preference over English. Now, his ministry is piloting amendment to the Registration of Birth and Death Act as well. And this could be met with criticism as well, even though the central denies that this has anything to do with the National Population Register or the NRC. Will that criticism be levelled as well? For that, let me bring in Pallavi Ghosh once again. Pallavi, the centre wants to clarify that they are only trying to create a database because states have not been doing their job properly. But given the fact that this centralized database could then be utilised by ECI, by UIDAI, could there be criticism that you are creating that next step for NPR and NRC?
Yes, that's exactly the point which, Arunima, you reported on this first, have also put out. And this is a very valid concern which the opposition parties claim that yet another infringement on the federal structure, yet another infringement on the rights of the state governments. As you were also saying, this is something which was largely left to a state government, which is a registration of birth and death. The only complaint which the centre seems to be having is the fact that this is a job which is not being done well by the state governments. The records were not being updated. Statistics do not reflect the real picture, which becomes a very important issue and a critical factor when it comes to disbursement of the welfare schemes, for example. That's one important yardstick why you also need to know what the population of the country is. Of course, the centre is clarifying this has got nothing to do with their infringement. The federal structure remains intact. It's only because the job is not well done, which is why the centre also wants to step in. But it is again going to be, I think, another point of concern between the state governments, especially those ruled by the opposition parties, and the centre.
But the government appears confident, Pallavi. I mean, the next step, if the cabinet approves this, will be to introduce it in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Given the numbers there, would the government face any difficulty if they decide to bring this amendment?
Well, precedence has shown, Arunima, that even contentious bills don't have a problem when they get through the parliament. Look, in Lok Sabha, we all know it's going to be not much of a problem. They almost have a brute majority. Rajya Sabha provides a bit of a challenge. But it'll be interesting to watch what happens there, because as of now, you have parties who are seen as friendly to the centre, like the BJD, AIADMK at times. Even the TRS, before, they went national, were actually going by the side of the government, either by abstention or actually openly voting for the government. In this case, if it's going to become a centre versus state issue, opposition ruled states versus the centre, then it'll be interesting to see that ahead of the 2024 elections, will a KCR, for example, who now, of course, is Bharatiya Rashtra Party, is actually going to end up supporting the government. So that is something which could be a bit of a challenge as far as Rajya Sabha goes.
Right. Pallavi Ghosh, thank you so much. So that's a development we'll have to wait and watch keenly. But there's more news coming in. This one